Today we're going to be talking about the Blackhand, one of my least favorite pistols in the entire game, but it does bring a relatively unique gimmick to the table, and does admittedly have its uses. So the Blackhand is based on the NS-44 Commissioner and shares quite a lot of traits with it. However, in general, you just better at range. You give up hipfire and magazine size in exchange for a 4x scope and better statistics at range when compared to the Commissioner. Other than that, they feel pretty similar all around. And honestly, if you use the Commissioner, you can transfer a lot of that experience over to the Blackhand. As I mentioned, I don't really care for it. I think it's very clumsy to use, and honestly, there's few situations that I find you run into a Blackhand with that you wouldn't do better with in a Commissioner. So in the way of stats, you get 170 RPM, which is, the same as the Commissioner, 450 damage out to 20 meters, dropping to 275, which is important. This means that, provided you're headshotting, you will always do headshot kill infantry at every single range. This is nice, and given that you have a small magazine size, this is actually quite mandatory. And it's this gun's main gimmick, along with the built-in 4x. Your muzzle velocity is fine at 550, honestly it's just kinda okay. Your reload speed is on the bad end at 4 second long, 3 second short. You have 4 rounds in your cylinder, which is really rough. Your hip accuracy is notably worse than the Commissioner, your aim accuracy is slightly better than the Commissioner, and that's pretty much all there is for the stats on it. If you compare it to the Commissioner, basically you get longer damage ranges, and you'll always do headshot kill at range compared to the Commissioner, which only does it out to, give or take, 35 meters. You have 100 meters second better velocity, but you get a worse cylinder, significantly worse hipfire accuracy, and better aim accuracy. They're two similar weapons. I mean, they're built on the same platform, after all. But their differences are quite notable. Of course, you're seeing the Ravenous one, because that's the one I've been putting time into Araximing, but they're the exact same. So, in the way of attachments, pick your poison on your 4x sight. It doesn't really matter, take whatever you like. I like the T-Cross personally, but honestly, all of them are viable. I would go away from the regular irons because they are blocked by Infiltrator Cloak, and they also sway significantly more. They're just ugly irons. They're just ugly irons. I would definitely replace them with a sight of your choice, but as for which one you take, pick your poison. I personally like the square and the T-Cross the most. Then you have a rail. The laser's your only option here. You can take a dark light if you want, but just take the laser. Your hipfire is so terrible without it that in order to have a semblance of decent hipfire, you need to take the laser. You just need to. So, of course, that's pretty much the stats and overview of the weapon, sadly. So now we have to go into live off-hours Connery. It's currently 4:14 p.m. on a Thursday evening on Amrish during an alert. Hopefully the fights will be okay, but if they're not, that'll be most unfortunate. So, the Blackhand, it's difficult. That's the best thing I can say about it. Compared to, well, most other pistols in general, you lose. You lose quite badly. Downed. Honestly, it doesn't have a whole lot of use. You can make funny things happen if you're, say, sniping as an infiltrator, or you're just plinking at people from the roofs as a light assault, especially if you bring, say, like a shotgun or a submachine gun that's heavily limited on range. However, that's the only situation where the Blackhand truly shines over everything else. And, honestly, it's hard to justify that one specific niche being a reason to always have a pistol on your class. It's not bad, it's just kind of... Ultimately, the gimmick it has is nice, don't get me wrong, it has its uses, and it can be fun to use, but as an actual pistol, you need it's a lot like it's actually pretty much like the Commissioner, but even more demanding. As I've stated in the Commissioner video, the Commissioner requires mechanical skill nowadays to make truly as good as, say, the Underboss of the pilot. The Blackhand takes that and ramps it up to 11, and has significantly less panic potential, and the 4x makes things really annoying. I would honestly probably quite like this thing if it had even a 2x available, but a 4 makes it extremely hard to use in close ranges. Combined with the terrible hipfire and the super zoomed scope, unless you have really good mechanical aim, you're just going to miss targets in close range, and that's It's hard to say that's your own fault, but it does really knock against the Blackhand. It has its use, it's just pretty hard to justify ever actively choosing it. Please, fuck off. Like, it's not a bad pistol, don't get me wrong. It's not a bad pistol, but it's really, really hard to justify bringing it over any other pistol. Unless you specifically want to do the funny range build. Or just plink people with, say, a light assault. I'm going to die here. This is also not a super ideal fight for it, but whatever. So, I would also like to note that I have actually done most of Storaxium on my heavy assault, because I've been using it mostly as a primary. It's not that good as a primary. Because again, with only 4 rounds, you miss. You will need 2 shots to kill a player from full health no matter what, because, you know, it's a commissioner platform. So suddenly you miss 1 or 2 shots, and... uh-oh. Your chance of killing somebody is going straight down the drain. In addition, just like the regular commissioner, it has the long equip time penalty of 0.45 compared to the standard 0.25 on most pistols, which will also get you killed in panic situations. It's not bad, it's just difficult to justify using over a regular commissioner. Because, yeah, you can blink people at range, but... It's not bad. I keep repeating myself. It's not a bad pistol by, like, really any means. It's just there's not really a reason to pick it up. It's fine at what it does. But honestly, do you really need what it does? It's kind of unfortunate in that regard. It's kind of unfortunate in that regard, in fact. There's an Elysium tube there. We can blow that up. And I misreloaded. That could have been bad. That is bad. Ow. Yep, there we go. Like, it's hard to talk about this weapon in a lot of ways. I don't even want to use it anymore. So I have my 10 KDR. Bit of a perfect situation, but it's a good place to call the recap. It's not a bad pistol, but ultimately, the amount of times you'll actually need a long-range pistol are pretty few and far in between. And outside of some funny stalker infiltrator gameplay or plinking people with it as a light assault, you're generally better off with the commissioner in most situations. It does have its niche, don't get me wrong, it has its niche, but it's just... it's hard to justify equipping it. It's, you know, exactly like the Thumper a couple days ago, it's a weapon that's nice to own if you ever want to engage in this playstyle, but it's absolutely not something that you need to pick up right away. And honestly, even looking at this thing from a directive point of view, you can safely skip it on the pistol directives. You can pretty much safely skip it anywhere. The only directive where you might have to do it is on the Mayhem directive, and if you're doing the Mayhem directive, I probably don't need to tell you what to do. So, it's fine. It's just underwhelming. It can be funny, but it's just... it's a commissioner that shoots, that always 2-shot headshots and is a 4x, you know? And pays for it quite dearly with the ammunition and hipfire stats that just really drag it down. So, thank you all, and I will see you again tomorrow. Bye.